Elements. They're the building blocks of everything that exists in our world. They're the building blocks even of life. The elements form molecules, and those molecules are animated with life and consciousness and intent and creativity. That is life, a gift from God, but expressed through the physical matter of our realm. And that physical matter can be broken down into elements, as you can see from the table of elements. Those elements include hydrogen, helium, and then things like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, magnesium, right? All the metals and the nutritive minerals are elements. And without those elements, we cannot survive. So when the globalists attack elements, they are attacking life on planet Earth. Welcome to this special video report, The Globalist War on the Elements of Life. So you've probably heard the phrase, the war on carbon. And we've been told that carbon's bad. Well, carbon is found in carbon dioxide, and the EPA has declared carbon dioxide to be a pollutant. Well, did you also realize that we are carbon-based life forms? And in fact, all life that we know of in the cosmos is carbon-based life. All the life on planet Earth, the pollinators, the insects, microbes, humans, primates, animals, the dolphins and whales, the fish in the sea, everything is based on carbon. So a war on carbon is a war on life. And did you know that most of the molecules that you need to live, such as, let's say, vitamin C, is based on carbon? Did you know that medicinal herbs are all carbon-based molecules? And did you know that plants need carbon in order to survive? And that food crops need carbon in order to produce food? So a war on carbon is a war on food. And a war on carbon dioxide is a war not just on food and crop production, it's also a war on oxygen, because carbon dioxide, of course, contains both carbon and oxygen. And without oxygen, none of us can breathe. The animals would asphyxiate and die. Even the dolphins and the whales and the insects and the pollinators, they would all die without oxygen. So when the powers that be declare war on carbon and war on carbon dioxide, they are declaring war on the two most important elements for life as we know it on this planet. They are, in effect, declaring that they are on the side of death. They are part of a death cult. And in that death cult, they wish to see the total destruction of life on Earth. Now, they've come to realize that one of the easiest ways to accomplish mass death is through mass starvation. So they are attacking the food supply by trying to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. This is a terraforming operation that's known as carbon sequestration. They have large machines that pull carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, turn it into a liquid, they pump it through pipelines, and then store it underground in order to deprive the world's crops of access to CO2. Now, why does this matter? Because of photosynthesis. Because photosynthesis, which is the single most important biological process on planet Earth, requires carbon dioxide as one of its three inputs. Photosynthesis needs carbon dioxide, sunlight, and water. With these three things, plants can produce food, plants can produce their own structures, stalks, stems, leaves, pollen, flowers, fruit, nuts, and so on, and roots. But they need photosynthesis to function, and photosynthesis needs sunlight and carbon dioxide and water. Well, the globalists are at war with two out of those three. They're at war with sunlight. They say there's too much sunlight, and they want to dim the sun through something called stratospheric aerosol injection, to block the sun, to literally reduce the amount of sunlight reaching the surface of the Earth. And they also want to block carbon dioxide through carbon sequestration, like I just mentioned. In doing so, they would cause an ecological collapse, a mass extinction event, on planet Earth, the likes of which has never been seen in the history of the planet. According to mainstream scientists, Earth has been around for something like 5 billion years, but never in those 5 billion years has there been an attempt to mass murder all life on the planet by the very life forms living on the planet. This is a first, and this is devastating. This is planetary scale genocide being carried out in the name of climate change, in the name of saving the planet. But it's not just carbon and oxygen that are being targeted by this climate death cult. Now they've come up with something new to try to target, and that's nitrogen. By attacking nitrogen, they can attack the meat supply on our planet. They can shut down livestock operations by claiming that livestock produce too much nitrogen. Now, they've already said that livestock produce too much methane, but they haven't really come up with a way to capture cow farts and cow burps without seeming really stupid. What, are cows supposed to wear masks and methane-absorbing diapers, and then should farmers change the diapers of the cows every day? I don't think that's going to work. So the powers that be have decided that, well, they can target nitrogen in urine. That's right, urine. They've said that animal urine is a threat to the environment, somehow. Even though nitrogen is precisely the nutrient that is needed by plants to accelerate their growth, and it's needed by food crops in order to produce more food. Nitrogen is fertilizer, and animal urine is also a form of fertilizer. So is human urine, by the way. You see, nitrogen is freely available in the atmosphere. Somewhere around 78 to 79% of the atmosphere is nitrogen, mostly in the form of N2. Well, that nitrogen can't be used by plants in that form. It has to be converted into a form that's more readily absorbable through plant roots. It has to be made, in essence, bioavailable. Well, over 100 years ago, a German scientist named Haber, Haber, he developed a way to use very high pressure and heat to force nitrogen to combine with hydrogen in order to create NH3, also known as ammonia. He used hydrocarbons, i.e. natural gas, to derive the hydrogen, and then he pulled nitrogen from the air. And this invention is one of the most important discoveries in the history of the world, because it allowed the creation of nitrogen-based fertilizer, which now feeds about half the planet. About 4 billion people on planet Earth are able to eat because of this Haber invention. And that's because it makes nitrogen bioavailable to plants in the form of ammonia. And then from that ammonia, you get things like ammonium nitrate, which is a fertilizer, and other forms of mineralized fertilizers such as calcium nitrate and so on. But animals can also do something that's similar without building massive factories. Animals can take nitrogen from the air and even from foods, and they can convert it into usable nitrogen in their urine. So cows are doing what Haber wanted to do, and they're doing it for free. And the nitrogen that comes out of cow urine, which consists partly of urea, can be used to fertilize crops and produce food for the world. So animal urine is not a pollutant. Animal urine is fertilizer for food. And it merely needs to be captured and redirected and used to fertilize crops. And that would be organic, by the way. And it would reduce the need for synthetic fertilizers made from fossil fuels. So really, animal urine should be captured and utilized to grow food. And yet, what we have all over the world, including in the Netherlands and in European countries in particular, but spreading around the world, is an attack on nitrogen as a fulcrum to shut down animal meat production. They say nitrogen is a pollutant in exactly the same way that they say carbon is a pollutant, or that carbon dioxide is a pollutant, or that sunlight is bad. So now you see the war on the table of elements is expanding. Previously, it was just a war on carbon. More recently, a war on carbon dioxide. And now it's a war on carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen. And all that's combined with a war on sunlight, photosynthesis. So it begs the question, What elements will the globalists attack next? Will they say that hydrogen is bad? Because hydrogen and helium power the sun. Will they say that the solution would be to destroy the sun and have a dark, collapsed ball floating around in space instead of something that provides light and heat and warmth and energy to planet Earth? Would they want to kill the sun if they could? Probably. After all, they're a death cult. They are lined with darkness and death. And if they could eliminate helium and hydrogen, they could stop global warming and stop the planet from warming, because it would become a frozen dead ice ball and the entire ecological biosphere would totally collapse. That seems to be their goal. Now, whatever they can't destroy, they want to tax out of existence. And this is how they've created something you've heard about: carbon taxes. So now they want to tax the table of elements. Well, since every living thing on planet Earth is made of carbon, they are essentially admitting that they wish to tax every living thing on planet Earth. You're made of carbon. They want to tax you for the element of carbon that's in the molecules in your body. There's carbon in your skin, there's carbon in your hair, carbon in your organs, in your blood. Every system in your body contains carbon, so they want to tax every single system. And when you breathe, you also exhale carbon dioxide. So they want to tax your respiration. And that means they might want to charge you for every breath you take. Or they might want to limit your emissions by reducing the number of breaths you take. And of course, the most effective way for them to do that is to just kill you, because dead people don't breathe. Dead people don't produce carbon dioxide, and nor do dead cattle or ranch animals. So you see, all of their solutions come back around to death, because they, the globalists, the climate cultists, they are death cultists. They seek death. They want to see humanity killed off. And every human behavior is something that they want to cause to be shut down. Even if it's food production, farming, transportation, innovation, business activity, all of it. They want it all shut down because you are bad, because you are made of carbon and you exhale carbon dioxide. So the table of elements was once celebrated, as it was developed in modern times, as an incredible understanding of life. Look, the scientists said, we've figured out what life is made of. This is the matter that defines the physical structure of life and even things that aren't living. This is the stuff that the world is made of. What an amazing discovery. Little did they know that maybe just a little more than a century later, other scientists would look at that table of elements and use it as a tool to try to achieve mass death. Not life, but death, the opposite of what the original scientists declared. So they've used the understanding of life in order to create tools for death. And it's all being done in the name of science. The entire field of science, which was once a field of discovery, innovation, creativity, and excitement, has now become a field of death, destruction, and deception. Science is now used to bludgeon the people, to force them, to coerce them into taking vaccines that kill them, or to limit their activities such as farming or food production or transportation or even breathing. Science has become a weapon against humanity, and the table of elements has become the target zone. It is important, though, that we understand science so that we can understand the weapons that the globalists are using against us. They will use science to carry out genocide. They will use science to commit murder against humanity. And they will use science to try to kill planet Earth and turn it into a frozen, dark orb of death. Because ultimately, that's what the climate cult wants for all of us. Never forget that. Thank you for listening. Please share this mini documentary everywhere. You have my permission to repost it on your own video channels and other platforms. Be sure to visit my website, naturalnews.com, and also the platform that I built in order to express free speech, brighteon.com. I'm Mike Adams, known as the Health Ranger. I am a published scientist and an owner of an ISO-accredited food science laboratory, one of the most active labs in the world when it comes to developing food science analytical techniques using mass spectrometry. So when it comes to science and the elements, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Take care.